Hello learners, you are welcome to your Learn at Home program. My name is Ijachi Cecilia. I am your agricultural science teacher. I'm teaching primary 4 to 6. In our last topic, we talked about meaning and importance of agriculture. As we all know, we say that anytime you hear the word agriculture, what will come to your mind is food. And this food is from the crops that is grown in the farm. Another one is the rearing of farm animals that we eat as food also. Now, I asked a question that day. I said, assuming you are a farmer and you harvest your crop and it is about 4 or 5 bags of crop, you cannot finish it on the same day, what do you do with it? Then I even asked you a question that day again. I said, like melon. Some of you were asking me that day that you don't know melon, and I say you should ask your parents to tell you the meaning of melon in their local languages. Of course, I know my melon in my language, but I will not tell you. But ask your parents, they will tell you what melon is in your local languages. Assuming you harvest melon and you watch the melon from the river, the case might be, what do you do with it? You have to spread it so that it will dry. That leads to our today's topic. Topic of today is preservation of farm produce. When you hear farm produce, you will know that it is crops and farm animals, not only crops. Now, before we can go on, what do we mean by preservation? Can somebody think and tell us what preservation is? I know you are thinking at home to tell me what the meaning of preservation. Now, before we go into that, we have to check our learning objectives. Look at our objective. We have to define preservation of farm produce. You state the reason for preservation of farm produce. We now list the method of farm produce preservation. Then particularize some method of farm produce preservation. Now we say that we have various crops and animal produce that we obtain from our farm. Now, if a farmer obtains some crops or animals, as the case might be, from the farm, by the time that they eat with the family, what happens to the remnant? Do we throw them away? What do we do to it? We now say that farm produce preservation is a process of treating and handling harvest produce to stop or slow down the spoilage that is caused by microorganisms. Any treatment at all that you give to your harvested crops or harvested animals, as the case might be, to stop spoilage is known as preservation of farm produce. Now, why do we even need to preserve our farm produce? Why don't we leave our farm produce after harvesting and leave it like that? Before then, we have different types of farm produce, which we all know. There are some that you harvest them when they are green in colors, and there are some that you harvest when they turn yellow. And there are some that there are different categories of harvest for different types of crops. Now, the first reason for farm produce preservation is to retain freshness. To retain what? Freshness. To retain what? Freshness. Like now, especially the fruit crops, like the mango, the oranges, the pawpaw, they are all fruit crops. If you harvest them and you did not preserve them very well, the freshness will not be there and you will not be able to enjoy when you are eating it. Then number 2 is to reduce loss. What do you mean by loss? By the time you harvest your crops and did not preserve them, you are going to have plenty spoilage. And if it is spoiled, you are going to throw them away, which is not good for the purpose. To prolong shelf life of the produce, any agricultural produce that you have harvested, if you do not preserve it, the shelf life will be reduced. To prevent possible contamination and infection from unpreserved food. Then for future use, once you preserve your farm produce, you can keep it for the future use. Now we have several methods of farm produce preservation. And this method is particular to some crops and to some farm animals, as the case might be. We have the sun-drying, smoking, salting, frying, refrigeration, canning, bagging, and bottling. Smoking is done by placing the fish over a fire for some time until the fish is dried. This one is particular to farm animal produce, either the meat or fish. You can put it under the fire so that the water content will be reduced to avoid spoilage. Bottling is another method of farm produce preservation, and it's mainly done for food crops. Like orange, you have the orange juice, we have the pawpaw juice, we have cashew juice. You can preserve those ones in the bottle. You have bottle coke. All these things, they are products from agriculture, and you can preserve them by bottling them. Another method of preservation is called canning. Canning is a method of preserving fish and tomato in a sterile can and sealed with a machine. And this one is done in the agro-allied industry. The fish can be canned, and then the tomato can be canned also in an agro-allied industry. We have frying is another method of preserving our farm produce. We can fry your meat, we can salt our fish. Another method is refrigeration. This one is keeping your harvested fish inside a cold room or a freezer so that it will not spoil. We have smoking of meat. After you have slaughtered your maybe cow or goat, you cannot finish the meat that very day. What you do, you place it on top of fire to remove the water content. We have sun drying. Some crops, after harvesting, you have to sun dry it so that to reduce the moisture content of the product, like rice, like beans, like maize, and even ginger. You can sun dry it so that you can preserve it for future use. Now let us revise what we have learned so far. We said that farm produce preservation is the process of treating and handling harvested produce to stop or slow down spoilage. We now learned there are some reasons why we are supposed to preserve our farm produce: to retain freshness, to reduce loss, to prolong shelf life of produce, and to prevent possible contamination and infection from unpreserved food and reserve for future use. We have several methods of preservation. We have the sun drying, we have canning, we have salting, we have frying, we have bottling, we have bagging. Now, I'm going to give you home task. In your home task, you are going to write example of products you can use the following method to preserve. Which type of crops can you use sun drying to preserve? Smoking, which type of farm produce you can use smoking for? And salting, frying, refrigeration, canning, bagging, and bottling. You are going to write it in your book and give example each of the product you are going to use the following method of preservation for all. Because you cannot use all the method for all the products. We have different type of method, and we have different type of crop and animals that you use the method to preservation for. Thank you, and stay safe.
Thank you.